TopMedTalk.
Well, hello and welcome to TopMedTalk. I'm Desiree, Chappell, your host. And today we have the opportunity to talk to Katie Liu, the Clinical Research Manager for Medtronic. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. For our listeners, why don't you tell us just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I am the Global Clinical Research Program Manager for what we call our External Research Program. It is basically our investigator-sponsored research program, and I work specifically for our acute care and monitoring portfolio within Medtronic.
And can you tell us a little bit more about what that program looks like and dive into that?
So I would say on a high level, Medtronic is very invested in supporting clinical research, and this is one of the pathways that we are able to accomplish that. Our program is called the External Research Program. The intent is to support clinicians who want to conduct independent research in a clinical setting. And I think that's one of the values that our program brings, is that we provide limited support to the clinicians, and then they conduct their studies basically independent of Medtronic.
Fantastic. So if me as a clinician is, where I'm an anesthesia clinician, a CRNA, if I am wanting to do something new or investigate one of the practice that we're doing, then this is a program that I can come to Medtronic and ask for support to do that?
Yes, absolutely. And we provide different types of support depending on what a clinician needs. We can provide financial support that can go toward, supporting a research coordinator, for example, or costs related to enrolling subjects. We can provide product, which is one of our big areas of support. So if there's a particular device that you are interested in using for research, we don't have it at your site, you can request our monitors and our sensors, and we provide those free of charge. And then we can also provide limited technical support. So if you're a new user to our product or you need help understanding how to download the data from our monitors, we can also help with those things as well. Everything else is independent. So that includes, writing the protocol, getting IRB approval, basically everything from the very early stages of planning your study all the way through publication. Everything else is done independent.
Gotcha. So there's no support for like data collection or analysis or anything like that. So you're not involved in that space at all.
Correct. And like I said, we think that's one of the strengths, is that this is independent research with the exception of, that financial or product support.
Yeah, which a lot of times for many of us who are non-academic especially, that is a great opportunity because not everything is supported in our community facilities. I can also imagine in academia too, whenever there are resources limited, that this would be very useful for clinicians.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keeping it kind of a high level for just a minute more, this is something that's just for the U.S., or is this applicable, and can people from all over the world or different parts of the world participate in?
Yeah, this is a global program. So I can say, right now a lot of our studies are in the U.S. and in Western Europe, but we have studies in, parts of Asia, Australia, New Zealand, South America, Canada. So it really it's a great way to support global evidence generation.
Yeah, and I'm sure it does that. That's great. So tell us a little bit more about the process and how something like this works, getting into the finer details of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is done through our website. So our website is erp.medtronic.com. And when a clinician has an idea to conduct some research related to one of our technologies, they can go to that website and they can create a free account and submit either a concept or a full submission. There are some differences between the two, so I can walk through those. A concept submission is, I like to describe it as kind of an abstract. So it has high-level details on what is your study design, what patient population are you focused on, what is your objective and maybe your endpoints. So concept is really great if you want to get a quicker answer on whether Medtronic might be interested in supporting your research. A full submission does require more information. It requires a full protocol. It does not have to be IRB or ethics committee approved already, but we do want to see that full protocol. And then if you are requesting financial support, it also does require an itemized budget as well. So it's a little bit more detailed, but not terribly lengthy in process, probably nothing in comparison to what you would submit if you were applying for an NIH grant, for example. So we do try to make it easy for a clinician to submit their idea and pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So if a independent provider, independent researcher, say they're not part of a larger research organization like an academic institution, is this still possible for them?
Yeah, absolutely. We can support research in any clinical setting.
What types of clinicians and providers are eligible for this type of research grant?
The bulk of our clinicians are anesthesiologists because of the technologies that I support, but we are open to supporting research from basically any clinician type. So if it's something that a nurse is initiating or maybe an RT, respiratory therapist, we are definitely open to reviewing any proposals. We do definitely like to see that the clinician has some experience doing research because this is independent. We want to have some confidence that they will be able to execute the study and, complete it. I would say that's the main thing, is just knowing that they have a good understanding of the research process.
Fantastic. So somebody that could possibly be coming out of training per se, where they had a little bit more exposure to it, probably would be somebody who has not necessarily been out for a while, that may not be used to doing research more often. What about like QI projects, where that is definitely different. It falls under like an exemption in IRB a lot of times, and you're looking to just do QI. Does that count?
In some cases, we can support it. That typically doesn't fall under our definition of clinical research. But, you can also always reach out via our website and ask if you have an idea and just want to know if it's something that would qualify. You're always able to reach out via email as well.
Gotcha. When it comes to clinicians, you said anesthesiologists, CRNAs, AAs, any other type of anesthesia clinician, they have the opportunity to do this as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Now, walk us through kind of an example of that submission process, because I know there are many people out there who have lots of great ideas and lots of different concepts and ways in which that we can use the different technologies that are available, but may feel a little intimidated by walking through this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a concept proposal, the details that we ask for are, like I said, fairly high level. We do ask for just basic contact information, your site location. In terms of the details about the study itself, like I said, we're interested in something like high-level study design, whether it's retrospective or prospective, what patient population you're focused on. So is it, patients undergoing cardiac surgery, or is it a study that's in the recovery space, or maybe the ICU? Knowing, some details on like how many subjects you are thinking about enrolling. And then what is your research question? What do you want to find out as a result of doing this research? Those are the things that we are interested in reviewing initially. We also have some specific questions in the form that you fill out on the type of support that you need. So do you need financial support? Do you need product support? And then it allows you to enter in what type of product you are requesting. I will say, for anyone who is intimidated by the process, like I said, you're always welcome to reach out. If you go to our website, erp.medtronic.com, you can reach out directly via email there, and it'll get directed to me. And then I can always reach out and, walk clinicians through in more detail how exactly to answer questions if they have any concerns.
Fantastic. Is this for just one clinician, or can multiple people in a group apply for something like this?
We do support multi-center studies. So I think that's kind of where your question was maybe going, as
both individual and small group, but also multi-center.
Yes. Yeah. So we do support, we typically have a principal investigator. So that's basically the study sponsor. And then we can also, within our system, have site investigators assigned as well. And that can be multiple site investigators at one research institution, or if it's a multi-center study, you can have site investigators assigned across multiple institutions.
Fantastic. What is an example of one of the smaller scale projects that someone might do versus the largest, kind of big RCT, I would imagine?
Yeah, absolutely. We do run the full gamut. So we have smaller research studies that we're currently supporting where, maybe they're looking to enroll like 10 to 20 subjects. Some of our research that we're supporting right now, it is more exploratory in nature. I think that's one of the great strengths of the program, though, is that, Clinicians are the ones who are using our technology day in and day out, and they see those areas with untapped potential or have come up with these really great questions. And sometimes that does just require basically a pilot study to find out whether their idea will work. So we do support some of those smaller studies. And then we have studies that, go up to like 500 subjects, for example. So, some of those are randomized controlled trials. Some are still prospective or observational studies. So we do support very different types of research just depending on the alignment to our business.
Katie, there's always a question from clinicians about the bias of industry in research. And I think it's important. I mean, one thing at TopMedTalk, we like to support partnerships with industry because that is how we move the needle forward, especially, in our specialty of anesthesia. How do we do it better and how do we partner with industry to make sure we're doing it the right way? Can you talk to us a little bit about those, what is the black and white, the line that crossed, I've done a little bit in this space, there's no sharing of data before it's published. There's no, there's a lot of restrictions. And I'm assuming that with your program, that's the case.
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, outside of that financial or product support, or in some cases, technical support to get a site kind of up and running with enrollment, we are not involved at all. So the most that we really do is we reach out on a quarterly basis to get an update on enrollment, find out if there are any challenges impacting the study progression, but we are not involved in reviewing the data, collecting the data. We don't store any of the data. It is in a very gray world. This is very black and white, I think. High level, I think a lot of clinicians are aware of internal funding opportunities for research and government funding as well, but always keep in mind that a lot of industry does support research around their technologies as well. And, don't be afraid to reach out to a company and see if they can support your research, because there's a chance that they could. We want to partner with clinicians to improve patient care.
All right, fantastic. Well, I think the portal for putting the ideas in there, hopefully we'll get busy for you guys, because I know there are a lot of clinicians out there that have a lot of questions that I think we would love answers to, or at least love to start the conversation about. And this is a great way to do that. Well, fantastic. Katie, I really appreciate you joining us here on TopMedTalk and going through the process. Again, one more time for our listeners, we'll put it in the show notes. The website that clinicians can find this more information about, and the submission portal?
Yep, that's erp.medtronic.com.
Walk us through what happens after submission, the review process, how arduous is that? And then also, once this is submitted and accepted, what does it look like after that?
Once we receive a proposal, what we do is we have an ERP committee that reviews every proposal. Some of the things that we look for are first technical feasibility. So we want to make sure that the proposal is possible with our technology. And then one thing that we are really focused on is also ensuring that any research that we support is aligned to our business interests. So if there's a new idea that is something that we are also thinking about working on or is in our pipeline, that's always really wonderful to see, and we're more likely to support it, I would say.
Yeah, probably not something that's not too far out of the box, but
yes, absolutely. Once a proposal is approved, we do establish a contract to basically outline what type of support we're going to provide. And then once we have both that contract that's executed as well as IRB approval from the investigator, then that is when Medtronic starts to provide our support. So if we've agreed to financial support, we provide that as milestone payments, typically based on enrollment. And then product support, we can also ship product once we've received both that final contract that's fully signed and then the IRB approval as well. From there on out, like I said, our support is fairly minimal. We do quarterly check-ins and make sure that the site is supported with their technology. And if they need anything additional from us, we certainly can explore that option. But we really do expect that the clinicians do execute their studies independent of us.
Yeah. What about the timeline? What does it usually look for most studies? I mean, I would assume that a big, huge RCT versus kind of a smaller research question the time frame on that might be different.
It really varies depending on the study. The time from submission to when we have a final decision on whether to approve or decline is usually a couple of months, especially if you are going through the full submission process. That can take some time for us to review, but we do try to move as quickly as we can. Contracting is very dependent on both Medtronic and the site legal team, so that varies a lot as well. And then the study execution phase is really in the hands of the clinicians. So we have studies, pilot studies typically that might take less time. So, we have one ERP, for example, that took maybe like 3 months to enroll subjects, and then they completed enrollment and, provided their final report to us, and we closed out the project. We have other studies that are, going on 10 years now, and we're still, checking in and providing whatever product support they need. So it varies a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. One of the questions that I have, we're definitely getting into the nitty gritty, but as someone who is interested in this space, but it's still a bit novel to me, at the end, is it require that you must publish what you do, or is it that you have to submit a report for what you did, or possibly do abstracts or podium presentations, things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't require the PI to publish, but we do really encourage them to. So regardless of the outcomes, even if the outcomes don't support our technology, we still want to see it published because that is really important for other clinicians to know about. So in all cases, we always encourage our investigators to submit abstracts, talk about their research at congresses, and publish manuscripts too. But we do not require it. We typically do ask for a final report. Usually that is just in the version of a manuscript. We don't want to add additional work for our clinicians, but we do really love to see the evidence published.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely the benefit of if someone's asked the question, probably somebody else has that same question as well. So it's best to share within our community. And then when it comes to milestones and things like that, that's all laid out kind of at the very beginning. So there are things that you have to, as an independent investigator, you are responsible for milestone tracking and all those. Because again, that was a bit of a new thing for me whenever I was starting to get into this space.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we do work with the PI to set out that timeline and, ask how quickly you would expect to enroll the total population of subjects you're looking at. And then we pretty much just divide that out over time, and we tie any financial milestones to that enrollment. We certainly understand that clinical research is complicated. Timelines shift all the time. So we do try to be very understanding of that and try to work with the investigators as much as we can.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. This sounds like a great program. Thank you so much, Katie. I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation and share this information with our colleagues within the perioperative medicine space. I think that a lot of people benefit from it. So cheers to you, and thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
TopMedTalk. Thanks for downloading TopMedTalk. Don't forget to subscribe, check us out on YouTube, and of course on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Also, it's important to remember that TopMedTalk is the broadcasting arm of EBPOM, evidence-based perioperative medicine. We'd love you to find out more about that, and the way to do that is ebpom.org. Check out our website and find out about some of the incredible conferences we're going to be arranging across the year. ebpom.org.